If you spent any time online in the recent months, you've seen that all of the conversation has shifted from technical conversations to AI agents conversation. Everyone is focused on AI, coding with AI, doing everything with AI, and I think this means there's a hidden advantage for people like me and you who still like to learn technical stuff and understand them and be able to do things manually. Right now, a lot of the energy goes into agents, workflows, toolchains, how to chain things together, how to use Cloud Code, how to use Codex, what is the best model, are open source models the best, are closed one the best, should you use GPT, Opus? I mean, you've probably heard all of these arguments online, you've probably saw a lot of videos on YouTube, including mine, and this means that everyone is focusing on this single thing right now. And I know that for some of you, it might be tired to hear AI, AI, AI all of the time, but that's not really what I want to say here. What I want to say is that this leaves a gap, and if you learn the fundamentals, then you'll be able to stand out much more today than you were in the past. Because if you learn how to actually build something, let's say that you want to build a website with React, and instead of just relying on the AI agent to do everything for you when it comes to React, you actually read the documentation, you read the source code, you try to see example projects, and you learn exactly how it works, how to think about React, how to build things with React. In that case, you'll be able to, first of all, judge the agent output much easily. So you'll know exactly if the patterns that the agent is using when it comes to React are correct or not. You'll also be able to debug faster. You'll look at the code, you'll understand React, and you'll say, okay, I've seen this problem before, I know what the agent is trying to do, and it is not the correct path. Then you'll be able to fix things much quicker. You'll also be able to pick the right trade-offs to see exactly where certain kinds of system design works better when it comes to React. Not really system design, but like the design itself of the components, how to actually structure your entire project. You'll essentially know how to better implement certain kinds of things for certain kinds of project, depending on the complexity, on the type of application, and whatnot. Because you have this knowledge, you have this ability to look at things and think about them from the lens of React, and this means you'll be able to pick the right trade-offs. And then you'll also be able to keep building when the tools get stuck. You won't get into this loop of saying, hey, please fix this over and over again, because you don't even know what's going on under the hood. You don't even know what's happening. And the important thing here is that this not only happens to beginners, but also people like us who already have some kind of experience. And as time progresses, new technologies are going to come into the scene, and we are just going to be left behind if we don't stay up to date when it comes to the technical abilities that we have as programmers. And I'm not trying to say here that I'm anti-AI, so I don't really think there's a point to arguing pro-AI, anti-AI. Is it good to use it? Is it good to not use it? I don't think that this conversation that is very black and white is productive at all. There are advantages to using it, there are disadvantages to using it, and we should know when to do so. We should actually understand things and not try to just pick a camp and then argue from that camp only. So here, what I want to tell you is that you should use also agents well, and keep this skill that you have as a technical person also around, because both of them together is the most powerful things that you can do. So as I've wrote here, you can use agents and learn what they do, but at the same time, if you cannot explain what they are doing, then I don't really think that is even good in the first place to rely on them to do things that are going to be put in production. You can use them to be more productive, but do not replace your technical abilities with them, and that is the mistake that a lot of people are doing today, and this is where I think this hidden advantage comes into the scene. A very simple example that I can give you is low level. So let's say that now I want to learn low level, how to use Zig, how to use C, how to even write CUDA, for example, which is something that I'm actually doing. If I were to learn all of these things years ago, let's say 2020, 2018, 2016, I would have had at the time a very large pool of people competing with me, because everyone was actually needing to learn all of these things, not necessarily, let's say, low level, but I'm giving here this example of low level because today, if someone needs to do something low level, they're just going to go with an AI agent and say, hey, please help me write this kernel thing, or please help me rewrite this part of my application to be more faster, or something like that, when it comes to just going down into the low level aspect of things, and they're not even going to try and learn things by themselves. So this also applies to things like React. Like I said, in 2016, if I were to learn React, I would have a huge pool of people that knew React very well. They knew the rules of React, they knew how to use it, they knew everything about it. But today, instead of that, I have a large pool of people that know how to use React via an AI agent, and a very small percentage of those people actually know how to use React, actually even know how React works in the first place, especially if we're talking about beginners. Now, this obviously doesn't mean that you should learn everything anytime that you want to do something, but again, I come back to this point because it is very important. If you want to do something related to work, and especially if you want to stand out in a huge crowd of other people that are doing the same thing, I think that here is an advantage for you to take advantage of, and I'm doing the exact same thing. So like I've wrote here today, fewer people go deep. This means that learning it gives you an edge. So anything that you might want to do, I mean, even things that like a couple of years ago would have seemed easy, quote unquote easy inside of our industry, like if you were to start becoming like a developer and you, instead of doing things manually, you would have chosen something like Rails or Laravel. Then there was this camp of people that said, okay, you need to do everything manually, you need to actually write your queries manually, and there was both of these camps. I think that today, even like if you start building applications and you just try to learn how Laravel works, how Rails works, you're going to be much further ahead when it comes to technical capabilities when compared even to the majority of people, because most people are even going to try to learn how an ORM works or none of those things. They're just going to ask the AI agent and be done with it. And like I just said, this applies everywhere, the front end, back end, everything. So if you just want to do UI stuff, React stuff on the front end, it applies to you. If you want to do back end stuff, if you want to do like back end when it comes to actually databases, maybe even infrastructure, setting up like Docker containers and doing deployments, Kubernetes, all of those things, all of these still applies because when most people focus on agents, like the technical learning side of things gets less crowded, and there's an opening for us to be able to actually like rise above here. So to conclude, I want to say that the play here is not to completely ignore the AI agents, to completely say, okay, I'm not going to use them at all, especially if you do some kind of work when it comes to programming or coding. The play is really to use both. You first need to learn how to use AI agents to move faster, to be more productive, and there's, I would say, a skill to using them. So this is a skill that you need to cultivate that is separate from programming itself, from coding itself, which is just this like skill of orchestrating agents, of knowing how to use agents, how to prompt well, how to manage context, all those things. This is a separate like skill that you need to have, but you still need, and I think now even more, this is going to again help you rise above, you need to learn deeply the technical sides of what you are doing, whether that's again front end, back end, because this will make you not only stay in control but also rise above everyone else. And this is especially important in the learning phase, where you should read documentation, build small things, do things manually, debug by hand instead of just relying on the agents, and then just use the agents to scale things. So when I do projects today with AI agents, I don't use them to like close the gap when it comes to knowledge. Sometimes I do, but it is not necessarily with things that I put in production, only with personal tools, because there's not really like a problem there if I'm just building something for myself to use in the CLI or something like that. But when I'm building web applications today and I'm using AI agents to build stuff with things like React, like Convex, I'm doing things that I've already done in the past. I already have experience doing them. I already understand React well enough to be able to instruct the agent, see where the agent is failing, see what mistakes the agent is doing, and being able to just steer it in the right direction. Now, if another person were to be starting just now fresh and they were to like ask the agent to use some kind of framework, they would have picked React and they would be able to go like much further ahead than I would have in the past, but they wouldn't even understand like anything that was happening inside of the project. And then when something starts failing and crumbling, the entire structure starts crumbling, and if you don't have that knowledge, you won't be able to really move past a certain point. Again, this applies to everything. I keep saying this because this is not only for the examples that I'm giving. This applies to, for example, machine learning. If you are doing a project, like applies to React, applies to doing like low level. Let's say that you want to build a database. Same thing. You're going to be able to go like much faster with the AI agent. The AI agent is going to help you like build a nice database from scratch, everything in C, and you'll feel very good because you'll see, okay, I'm actually able to build something. But then as soon as you start hitting some like edge cases, as soon as you start like getting some errors that you don't even know how to debug, it starts becoming a mess and you won't really be able to like move forward after that. So yeah, this is it basically. Again, I'm not saying here pick one over the other, combine the two. What I'm trying to say is don't leave like the basically don't leave the technical abilities behind because we now have AI agents, which is something that I see a lot of people doing. Thank you so much for watching the video, and I'll see you on the next one.